because it is Earth Month. I haven't done as much Earth Month stuff as I normally do because I've been launching my practice, but it is Earth Month, which is, we all love the earth, and I think it's a really important time to talk about all things we could do to support the earth, which also supports ourselves, right? Because we are literally interconnected with what happens with the earth. And when the planet's healthy, we are healthy. If the planet's not healthy, then our risk of illness increases, right? Because we are literally, we breathe the air, we drink the water, our food is from the soil, ideally. So it really is important. And so I thought I would talk about how to detoxify your wellness routine. And really, it's life, right? Detoxifying life. And I think that, as I mentioned, so much of what we do has an effect on the environment, and so much of the environment has an effect on us. So whatever we can do to enhance the environment, the earth around us, our inside environment, as well as the environment that surrounds us, the better. So when it comes to what we use every day, we really have so much control over that, because when you think about, what we eat, what we put on our skin, what our internal meaning like inside our house environment is, all of those places are places where we can take control. And it's not to make you crazy, because you could, be overwhelmed by all of the things that you see out there. But it's like, the most important thing is, actually, I'm doing a program right now, and it's so amazing because it's like the micro steps. And it's like taking those micro steps and multiplying them, like being consistent with them is where the real change happens. So it's like, we often fail because we feel like we have to do everything all at once. And if you look at the whole big picture and you try to change everything at once, it's crazy, right? But looking at one little thing you can do, it's the most powerful thing, right? And sticking to that one thing and then building on that thing. And so that's kind of how I started. I will say that when I started my whole journey, it started with becoming plant-based, because I realized that the environmental impact of animal agriculture, when I learned about that, I thought that that's what I wanted to do. And it took me a long time. It took me years of thinking about it and trying to figure out. I was like, what do you do? What do you eat? How do you get your protein? How do you survive? How do I feed my kids? But it took time, like over years, and learning and seeing what other people were doing, really inspired me. And then, here I am. But then the other things I would do was like taking little things, like what are the things in your environment that you can buy less of, that you maybe don't need, because that's where a lot of, number one, waste goes, and also a lot of, the things that we're exposed to come from. So the first thing I did was paper, really, believe it or not, was napkins. So I got rid of paper napkins and we used cloth napkins. And that was great, because using a cloth napkin is so nice, right? When you go out to a restaurant, it's nice to use a cloth napkin. So we adopted that like years ago. And then we gradually cut back on other paper goods. Like now I don't buy paper towels anymore. We use rags and we've reused them. But then the other things I started looking at is like my cleaning products, right? And I'll tell you an interesting thing. So I had this thought the other day about what effect, because now that I don't use fragrance in my cleaning products, I use all of my products are either unscented or they're natural fragrance. And so when you think about it, when you look at the things, like the things that I grew up with, the things my mother still loves to use, which drives me crazy because she has a lot of allergies and she uses these things that are so potent. But the fragrance, you think about the fragrance that's in the cleaning products and how long that stays around. And then you go out and you smell a flower and you think about how long does that scent remain, even if you have fresh flowers in your house, right? That the scent isn't like overwhelming. It's not overpowering. It's very light, and then it fades. And so you have to think, when we have these fragrances that we're exposed to all the time, what is it that makes them stay around so long? So that's one thing. The thing that makes them stay around is those things that actually are bad for us, the endocrine disruptors. So not only are they endocrine disruptors, but also they are allergens. And, for somebody that has allergies, you have to consider if you have allergies, if you have asthma, if you have eczema, any of those things, that the exposure to those fragrances is not good. And then you add on all this information we're getting about them being endocrine disruptors. The other thing which I thought about. And then I looked up because I was curious. When you think about those fragrances and you think about the food we eat, so much of the food that we experience it's a full body experience, right? It's the texture, it's the color, it's the flavor, it's the smell. And the flavor and the smell are interconnected. So when we are overwhelmed by the artificial fragrance, it dulls our sense to natural fragrances. So think about it. When you're bombarded, I think about it because like when I go into work sometimes after the cleaning people have been there, the fragrance is so strong you can't really, it's overwhelming and you can't really smell other things. And so, and there's studies, there is something called olfactory fatigue. And that is when we're exposed to these artificial fragrances and it has an effect. Now, granted, if it's only a fleeting exposure, it's fine. But if you have to think that if you're exposed to it everywhere you go, so in your house, you go to work and they clean, you go to the store, wherever you are, you're exposed to all of these artificial fragrances, it has an effect over time. And I would argue that part of our problem with food, artificial processed foods, is because it doesn't have that natural flavor. And we're also surrounded by all these artificial fragrances. And so when we have things that are naturally flavored, that are in their most natural form, that flavor is dulled, because not only we're always exposed to these ultra processed foods that kind of dull our senses because it's a lot of salt and sugar and fat, which kind of stimulates our taste buds in a different way. But then our olfactory fatigue on top of that dulls our response to those natural tastes and flavors and smells. So it's just something to think about. So it's one other level, is if you're trying to eat healthy and then you're exposed to all these things all the time, it's hard. We're exposed to not only the environmental things outside that we're exposed to in the air and the soil and all those other things, but then if we're using things in the house on top of it, it really can have a long-term effect. So that being said, so the first thing I said was cutting back on things. So, because that's really, when you talk about sustainability, the first thing is reduce, right? So reduce our use of products. So what can we cut back on? So I mentioned the paper products, but other things like cleaning products. So when the other thing that I did was with cleaning products, I cut back significantly. So now I do buy some cleaning products from certain companies. I will buy dishwasher tabs from, I use Clean Cult, but there's a lot of companies out there that have the tablets, which, it cuts down on packaging that way too, and they're more biodegradable. I cut down on, dish soap. I actually use a dish bar because that cuts down on the plastic that comes in those containers. And then regular cleaning stuff, I try to use multi-purpose things. So I use vinegar a lot. I use baking soda a lot. I use actually Dr. Bronner's, which is a natural Castile soap. And so it has natural flavor or scent, natural scent or unscented. And it's great because it's multi-purpose. You can use it, like I use it as hand soap. I dilute it and it can be hand soap. You can use it to mop the floors. You can use it in a spray bottle. You can use it so many different ways. You can use it to wash your body. You can use it to wash the dog. So it's great because it's multi-purpose. So that's one product that I buy. And the great thing is now that it comes in recycled plastic, unfortunately it comes in plastic, but they also have the cardboard containers that you can buy it in. So that's the next thing, is looking at where you can purchase, where you can replace plastic with other more sustainable packaging. So plastic instead of plastic, maybe either recycled plastic, because it's out there, so recycled plastic. But there's a lot of things that are packaged in aluminum now, that are packaged in cardboard now, or packaged in glass. And so looking for where you can replace some of those things. The other thing is, like, a lot of products now make concentrated forms. And so you think that even if you're buying the plastic, if it's in concentrated, then you have to buy less of it. So all those ways you think that you can cut back, not only is it better for you, but it also saves money, right? Because I buy that Castile soap, it lasts forever because I only need to use a little bit. And so I'm not buying these things constantly. So that's one thing. And then reuse what you can. So the benefit of using glass or aluminum is you can reuse those things over and over and over again. And the other thing is they can be infinite recycled. The problem with plastic is even if you recycle it, number one, a lot of times the recycling unfortunately is fraught, and it doesn't actually get recycled. It actually just gets dumped, and then it ends up in our waterways, it ends up in our soil, ends up in our bodies. We're finding more and more that those microplastics are ending up everywhere. So it's really a problem. But plastic also, you can only recycle it a certain amount of times, because then it's just not usable anymore. So plastic is really a problem. And I would argue that we have some control over, if we really, I mean, you like to think that, I know sometimes it's like, oh, what is my purchase going to do? But really it's ripple effects, right? So a lot of change happens with the individual, right? And as if we individual, and we spread the word, then it creates a ripple that passes. So if we insist on packaging that is more sustainable, then they will have to make more things in sustainable packaging. So that's the other thing is, so reduce, reuse, recycle. And I would argue that shopping from companies that recognize their responsibility is also really important, because unfortunately these big conglomerates, all they care about is profit and increasing their profit margin. So the way they increase their profit margin is by using cheaper and cheaper ingredients, by not caring about what happens at the end result, right? They are not invested in the recycling. Recycling costs money. You have to argue that plastic is cheap and they can use it as much as they want, and as long as they have no penalty from using it, they're not gonna. So following companies or choosing companies that are really invested in responsibility for the environment. So companies that are B corporations, companies that are smaller. So I do a lot of the other things that I buy are from smaller companies. And then companies that are transparent. So Dr. Bronner's, I love, like if you ever get Dr. Bronner's, you'll see, it tells you like the whole thing. And not only that, they have like their employees are part of the company. So just looking for companies like that. And it takes time, but the great thing is like that if you're purchasing less, you're saving money again. But so looking for those companies that are B corporations, that are small corporations, that are transparent. They tell you all the ingredients that are in there. They tell you like, what the company structure is, all of those things are really good. And, the ingredients are really important. Looking at companies that really pay attention to those ingredients. So there are things like the EWG list. There's like Leaping Bunny. There's other places you can look. I mean, it's hard. It's not great, but that's why I always try to look at the companies. B Corp certification is great because they do really have to go through strict guidelines, and in order to maintain that certification, they have to recertify every 3 to 5 years. And so it's pretty rigid. You can't just slap a label on and say that I'm green, because that's what a lot of companies do now. They'll say they're green, or it's plant derived, or it's plant based, or it's I don't know, they use all these different buzzwords, and they're not real. So looking for companies that really are committed. So those B corporations are a good place to start. Looking at where the ingredients are sourced. So, I mean, the other thing is like looking for companies that pay attention to the sourcing, because, the other part of it is a lot of times when they source, not only it's bad for the environment, but it's bad from the place that they source the ingredients from. They're not good to the populations and things like that. So you really want to look for, as much as possible, places that recognize fair trade, or really pay attention to what their contribution is to the environment around them. So other things that you can do to detoxify your routine, so that was products, I know that was a lot, are eating lower on the food chain. Let's talk about plant-based. There's so many benefits to plant-based because, number one, the animal agriculture, but it's not, again, like everything, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? The goal is small steps. So maybe it's like one plant-based meal a week. Maybe it's one plant-based food. Maybe you're just adding more plant-based things in. But the benefit of plant-based is, number one, it's better for the environment, but it's better for you also. When you eat lower on the food chain, when you have to consider that we're consuming foods that have plastics in them, the animals that we're consuming will have plastics in them too. So then you're getting the double whammy of the toxins in the environment that tend to be concentrated in the fat of the animal, and the microplastics and all those other things that are around. So if you eat more plants, your exposure is lower. It's not zero, but it's lower. And the other benefit is that it's better for your health, but it also supports your natural detoxification processes. So the more plants you eat, the better your body functions overall. improves your gut health, it improves your kidney and liver function, all of those things. So it's better. Hydrating well, eating lots of fruits and vegetables. Lots of cruciferous vegetables are really good for supporting your liver and liver detoxification processes as well. So lots of those good things that support your gut health. Eating lots of fruits and vegetables, the variety of fruits and vegetables, a rainbow that I always talk about, lots of fiber. And then, yeah, so those are the main things to do. And I will say that, Arbonne obviously comes in because that is the thing that I do. Excuse me, I mentioned that I choose small companies. But also the thing is like keeping it simple. For me, it was easy to just have Arbonne, that I know that when I buy whatever it is, my body soap, my face soap, my protein, whatever it is, that I know that I don't have to worry about the company, because I know that Arbonne's a certified B Corporation, that they center their business on making things safe. So that just takes away that decision fatigue. And that's a great thing. So that was one of the reasons why I chose Arbonne to begin with, was because I was looking for safer products for my family. And then the business also is sustainable. It's a company that's 45 years old, that is rooted in safety and commitment to, us, for their employees, for the environment. And that's a really important thing for me. And also that the products actually work. So I love that they're not just greenwashing, right? They really take that commitment. But Peter Mork, the founder, had that as his goal from the beginning, was that environmental responsibility and sustainability. So that is really an important part of the company, and they have maintained it to this time. And our parent company also is sustainable, which is a great thing. Groupe Rocher purchased Arbonne. I think it's about maybe 5 years ago now, maybe it's 6 years. And Groupe Rocher is a French company that is over 100 years old, I think. And they are also very committed to the environment. They have, been that way from the beginning of time also. So it's nice to have that backing us up. So I will just share that some of I'll share the specials that are going on right now. So there's Mother's Day specials going on. There are skincare specials. The one Mother's Day bundle is the sheet mask, which I love. It's that serum sheet mask, which it feels so good on your skin. Very super moisturizing, really great. And it comes with the vitamin C serum and the Derm Results peel pad. So that's a great, perfect package. I think it's 15% off. So 35% off if you're a preferred client. Another package bundle that I love, I use every day, is the Green Synergy Elixir plus Fizz. So Green Synergy Elixir is that rainbow of fruits and veggies in a stick pack, plus Fizz, which is our all natural energy drink. What I love, I'll tell about the additional thing I love about Fizz, is that number one, it's natural. It has B vitamins in it. It has natural caffeine. So it gives you that general increased energy without that rush, crash. It's just like general feel good, helps with focus as well. But it's great because it comes in the stick pack. So if you are drinking sodas or energy drinks or all those other things, right, they come in a can. These little stick packs, they're also small, and you can send them back to Arbonne to be recycled, which is great. So that's already cutting down on more plastic waste. You use your reusable water bottle, you put the stick pack in, boom, you're done. So that's another package. And then lastly, this week they launched the 7-day refresh, which is that 7-day program. So it is, I think it's also 10% off. So that's the other bundle. And it includes the green tea matcha, I'm being redundant. So matcha is the crushed green tea leaves. So green tea is like one of the most powerful antioxidants, packed with polyphenols, which are really good for your gut, good for your brain health. So matcha is that concentrated green tea leaf that's crushed, and it's really, really good for you. So that green tea matcha, it includes the golden shake, which has turmeric and a true broc supplement, which is all of those cruciferous vegetables in that powdered supplement. So the golden shake has that. It's really good. It has like a cinnamon flavor. And I think it has an oat milk in it. So it's a really flavorful shake. So that matcha plus the golden shake plus the probiotic capsules, which actually help restore your gut lining. So that 7-day refresh is like perfect for just setting you up for success. Sometimes you just need that get back to basics. So it also comes with just, it's all packaged in a box. There's like a barcode. So it has like the meal plan for the week. It has, exercise for the week. It has everything you need in this little box. And so it's pretty cool. So those are the specials that are going on. There's also my all-time favorite, lip oil mascara package that's still on sale. And what is the other thing? A couple of other holiday things that are still there. So thank you so much for joining me tonight.